theyeshiva.net.
Okay, 10 lines from the top, or 10 or 11 lines from the bottom. Samach Beis Amud Aleph Chukas, page 123. So we now at last understand the concept of tefillah and how tefillah evolved over the generations. In Vayaas Rishon, there was very little tefillah, or almost no tefillah, besides the personal davening of a person, because karbonis was the name of the main avodah. In Vayaas Sheni, there was still karbonis, but there was still a concept of tefillah. In Vayaas Rishon, it was just karbonis. There was no concept of tefillah. There were no shuls. No shuls. The concept of a shul, what Yecheskel Hanavi calls mikdash ma'at, beis knesses, this comes after the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. You know that, right? During the first Beis HaMikdash, there's no shuls. The concept of a Beis Knesses doesn't exist. It's one of the inventions after Churban Vayaas Rishon. They go to Bavel, and now they create a Mikdash Ma'at. That term is first time in Yecheskel, who was a Navi after the Churban, during the Churban. Yecheskel a Navi, al Nahar Kvar, va'ehi lahem lamikdash Ma'at. The Gemara explains in Megillah, it's referring to the Batei Knesiyas, Batei Medrashas. In Vayaas Rishon, it would be blasphemy. A little Beis HaMikdash. We have a Beis HaMikdash. Once there was a Churban, now there's miniature Beis HaMikdashes everywhere. Wherever Jews gather, b'chol ha'makom asher askir es shmi, avei elecha ve'erachtecha. Right? And that institution really saved Jewish life. It preserved Jewish life. Jews would come together and figure out how the world is supposed to run, and figure out what everybody else is supposed to do, and whose marriages are good and whose marriages are bad. And in the middle they would daven also for a few minutes. But this institution of the shul, of the Beis Medrash, really, it created a whole substitute for the Beis HaMikdash. Instead of there being one place where the Shechina is, now wherever Jews gather to focus on God, that's where the Shechina is. That was a revolutionary idea, not Parshas.
The concept of minyan, I mean, there was no before Anshe Knesset Gola was not the tefillos that we have today, obviously. So there was no
the
minyan,
there
was no tefillah b'tzibur. They just people just.
What's tefillah b'tzibur? We have a structure. We do Shemona Esrei. The Chazan repeats it. I mean, they had Kriyas HaTorah. It was the concept of Kriyas HaTorah.
Spontaneous Avram Yitzchak Yaakov tefillah.
Right. The spontaneous tefillah, as the Rambam puts it, there's a mitzvah to daven. The Rambam holds it's a mitzvah sesim in HaTorah, but no text, no time, no nusach, and no format or structure. A Jew wakes up in the morning and 20 seconds he reaches out to God. He says, "Make sure I have a good day. Please give me a good, meaningful day." And you will yotze mitzvah tefillah from the heart. And so tefillah develops, it evolves in Jewish history. And the way the Baal HaTanya explains it here is, it's because tefillah is the moment of dveikus. What type of dveikus? The unique dveikus in this world, which is not stam cleaving to God. It's transforming. It's bringing everything back to its source. And for that you need a fire in order to refine the silver and remove its impurities. And he says, in each generation the fire needs to be bigger. And he says, "Anachnu tzrichim lispal Yosef v'Yosef b'slavus ma'od," in order to refine the silver.
Where did people go for communal mitzvahs like shofar and things like that? The Beis HaMikdash?
Where did people go for communal mitzvahs like shofar?
Or Kriyas HaTorah. Moshe was.
I mean, you had Kriyas HaTorah. Kriyas HaTorah.
Ezra was
Ezra is already by his Sheni.
right. So you're saying before that.
No, there was a concept of coming together. I mean, it says Moshe Tikkalem Yisrael that you should be Darshan Hilchas HaChag B'Chag, right? And there was a concept of Kriyas HaTorah. I mean, there was, I guess there was a communal
Mikra Kodesh in terms of Kruim, coming together, assembling, and
Mikra Ha'eda, yeah.
Kalfim.
Yeah.
Is it correct that when we think about shuls, we think about the Shtiblat, understood here in Mansi, that didn't exist in those days? Is it correct there's only one main shul for the entire Kihil? Did they have smaller ones? It seems that came much later. Every community had taxes and stuff.
Well, the Mailim by Sheni, they didn't have Sfarad, Ashkenaz, Arizal, Taimon, Eidos HaMizrach, Ethiopia.
But even so,
The Shamru, Kegavna, Bamemad Likin, Baruch Shama, Haidu, Chodesh Al Tzion Toyer. The etc.
The concept of Shtiblach developed much, much later. Every community has
Yes, Avada,
one
yeah. So the fire allows the person to be mevarer, to be able to align everything in his or her life with its true source. And he says, Sheyachshoiv, right? Sheyachshoiv hachiyus shel aram mechayeyu eichesh lechiyus me'akadosh baruch hu ki bilodi lehoyach lichius v'akadosh baruch hu mechayeyu al derech hanal im kein ein raklam v'im kein v'chein kol. You see the line starts klal v'chein kol ayisurim binyan elam hazan. All challenges when it comes to everything in this world k'shechoyishev al derech hanal. When you have this type of focus, Yispardu kol poyalei oven. Ultimately, Yispardu. You separate, you fragment all workers of iniquity, meaning you puncture the bubble. You bust the bubble of Ra by revealing its true origin, its true purpose. So this sums up the idea that the focus of tefillah is this type of dveikus, even though it's not like the dveikus before the neshama comes down or after the neshama leaves the body, but it's a type of dveikus on which the Zohar says, where you mahapich miriru lemisko, where what looks bitter is transformed into sweetness. What looks dark is transformed into light. How does the person do this? The person understands that everything in the world could be seen from multiple perspectives. And therefore, even though on one level I see this as a challenge, as an obstacle, maybe even as a crisis, as a tremendous cause of Yisurim, if I look deeper, if I take all the dinim, all the harshness and all the ra, and I go back to the shayrish, back to the core, back to its original source, I will be able to sweeten it. What does it mean, sweeten it? I will find the divine energy that is fueling it. And because I discover the divine energy that's fueling it, I see Hashem in it, and therefore ultimately I see it as an opportunity, as a source of light, as a source of empowerment, as a source of goodness. God is never trying to kill me. Rather, it's the stale in me that He's trying to destroy. It's that which is stale, that which is dead, that which is numb, that which is frozen. That is what's being challenged. If the person could appreciate that, he spurred the kolpole oven, he punctures a bubble in the ra, in the dinim, and he's megala the shayrish. Just like we explained that this was the uniqueness of Nochemish Gamzu. The Gemara in Tainus says that Nochemish Gamzu would say on everything, Gamzu l'toiva, Gamzu l'toiva. Everything he brought back to the shayrish. He never stayed stuck with anything the way it looked, the way it appeared. He brought it back to the shayrish. And then therefore he could say Gamzu l'toiv. So he says, this concept, Gam kol tzadikim hayu al derech zeh. Essentially, all of the tzaddikim operated on this level. What do they mean they operated? This is how they saw the world. They looked at the world from this perspective. They looked at the world with these glasses. Whenever they saw dinim, they saw ra, they traced it back. They tried to climb it back, to bring it back to the shayrish. And in the shayrish, everything has chiyus. And everything has chiyus from Hashem ultimately. And if it has chiyus from Hashem, on some level in the source, it originates in goodness. The way it comes down, the way it's translated, the way it's manifested. It could be it's a great obstacle. It could be it's ra. Even the Satan, the Gemara in Baba Basra is L'Shem Shamayim Niskaven. Even Pnina L'Shem Shamayim Niskaven. Even that Zayna, back to our mashal, comes from the Melech. But I don't see the Melech there. All I see, the prince only sees a Zayna. He doesn't see that it's the Melech that is fueling her, that is giving her oxygen, that is empowering her at the center. All he sees it from his perspective is a powerful, powerful obstacle in life. So this is a klal. Whenever something comes your way, a curveball comes your way and threatens chas v'shalom to break you, to destroy you, to crush you, to debilitate you, to paralyze you, to cause you even melancholy, sadness, despair, stagnation, It's the courage of the person to say what Yaakov Avinu says to his adversary when his adversary tackles him, fights him, quarrels with him, tries to kill him, and ultimately makes him limp. And Yaakov says, Lo yashalechacha ki im beirachtani. I will not send you away from me until you do not bless me. Usually when a gangster attacks you in a dark alley for the whole night and tries to kill you, you don't ask him for a bracha at the end. Either you call 911, or you punch him in the nose, or you run away. But Yaakov says, I will not leave you until you don't give me a bracha. It's a gangster. What bracha do you need? But this is the whole pshat. Yaakov understood, and this is what Jews lived throughout history. That's why he says all the tzaddikim operated this way. Yaakov understood that this adversary that came to tackle me, it's not enough for me to get rid of him and to go back to the same position I was before he attacked me. Because if that was the case, the question is, why was he sent into my life? If he was just sent to my life for me to get rid of him, I could have not had him, and I also would have been rid of him. Yaakov understood it's not enough to get rid of him. I have to make sure that by the time I'm done with him, I come out more blessed. By the time I'm done with this guy, I'm going to come out more blessed, more empowered. That's the focus. Lo yashalechacha ki im beirachtani. It's not enough to get rid of you. I need to come out more blessed, more empowered, more wise. Jews throughout history, every generation, they had to tackle another person or force or empire that came to attack. Vayeavik ish imay ad alois hashachar. Famous Ramban, Derish al Shmat. There's always, though, every generation, b'chol dor v'dor, there's always Vayeavik ish imay ad alois hashachar. It wasn't they said, let's just get rid of it. Yeah, that's for starters, you try to get rid of it. But it was much deeper than that. Lo yashalechacha ki im beirachtani. We need to get rid of it and come out smarter, deeper, more blessed, more powerful, more holy, more good. Why? Not just not to give him victory, but it's much deeper than that. It's based on this idea that ultimately everything in the shayrish is toiv. But there's two types of toiv. There's toiv that's comprehensible, and there's toiv that is ma'oid. It's overwhelming because it's incomprehensible, as discussed in the previous shiurim. We encountered it in order to access the ma'oid. If I don't access the ma'oid, what was the purpose? I want to access the ma'oid. If I access the ma'oid, then that's not enough that I became toiv. I became toiv ma'oid. Lo yashalechacha ki im beirachtani. You'll see a fascinating thing in Jewish history. And that is, after every major catastrophe and crisis, there was an unprecedented explosion of spiritual, intellectual, and physical growth. The whole Torah Shabbat Peh that we have, Mishnayos, Gemara, Talmud Bavli, Talmud Yerushalmi, it all happened after the Churban Bayesheni. The Churban Bayesheni was colossal. Till the Holocaust, it was the greatest catastrophe to befall the Jewish people. Nobody thought they'll be able to survive it. Rabbi Akiva himself, the Gemara says, Kulu alibid Rabbi Akiva, the whole Torah Shabbat that we have is from Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Rabbi Akiva himself was murdered, executed by the Romans. And Dafka, that generation, Churban Bayesheni, it produced the explosion of all the Tanoim, which produced the Mishnah, which produced ultimately the Amirayim, the Gemara, Sai Bavli, Yerushalmi, all the Midrashim that we have, Mechilta, Sifra, Sifri, Toras Kohanim, Medrash Rabbah, Medrash Tanchuma, Sifrei HaKabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah, Sefer Azoya, Sefer Aboyer. It was fascinating. The pricha, the blossoming of Torah Shabbat Peh happened in the aftermath of the Churban Bayesheni. Rabbi Yasher Ber Soloveitchik, I think I said this once touched the Gemara says in Menachos, Chavtes, that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe asked the Rebbeinu Shalom why he has to have those little tagim on the Sefer Torah. Mi ma'akev al yodcha, who needs these little lines? Who understands them? You know what I mean, yeah? Shatnez gets those little zayins. Hashem says there's going to be a Jew, Akiva ben Yosef. Asid lidro shal kol koitz v'koitz tilei tilim shal halachas. On every one of those koitzim, they look like little thorns. He's going to darshan mountains of halacha. So he said it wasn't just a statement about Rabbi Akiva darshaning tagim. Koitz means a thorn. Could have said I'll call tag v'tag. So Rabbi Akiva's approach was I'll call koitz v'koitz. Yeder darn, every thorn that the Romans used to perforate the Jewish people, Rabbi Akiva said, we're going to use the koitz to build tilei tilim shel halachos, mountains of halacha. Rabbi Akiva and his chavedim and his talmidim, they created the unprecedented explosion of Torah Shebaal Peh. When you learn, you think it was all done with serenity. They were sitting somewhere in an attic, Amachaya. Much of it was done with tremendous persecution and challenge. You read Rashi. You read Rashi on Chumash, Rashi on Gemara. It looks like the guy doesn't have a bad day. He's having the most serene life. Rashi's on a hammock for 70 years. Nobody bothers him, and he writes, schreibt. Rabbi Yisrael. Rashi, across the street, the Crusades were happening. 1096, the first Crusades. The Crusades which destroyed Ashkenazic, so many communities in Ashkenaz in the 11th century, 12th century, and it produced Rashi and his whole family, Bali Atoisvis, and a tremendous explosion of the whole Ashkenazic literature. And then you had the Spanish expulsion, was one of the worst churbanas. We can't even imagine what it did in 1492. And the whole Toras HaArizal, the Zoya and the Ramak and the Arizal and the whole group of Tzvas, you had the Beis Yosef, the Mechaber and the Alshich and the Arizal, Maril Beirav, tremendous explosion of Toras HaNister in the aftermath of the Spanish expulsion. And then you had 1648-49, Tachtat, which decimated Polish Jewry, one of the worst Gzeiros. Today with the Holocaust, everything was forgotten, the First World War, but these were unprecedented catastrophes. And then the Shabsi Tzvi debacle, he converts to Islam. Much of Europe thought he was really Mashiach. And there was also a tremendous low. And then came the explosion of the Baal Shem Tov, the revelation of Teres Baal Shem Tov, of Chassidus, and the whole binyan of Olam HaYeshivas, the world of the Yeshivas, and in Lithuania and other parts of Eastern Europe. And then in our generation came the greatest churban of all, the greatest koitz, the greatest thorn. But after that, the rejuvenation of the Jewish people, both in Eretz Yisrael, the rebuilding in Eretz Yisrael, and everywhere, in all the communities, was something extraordinary, something powerful. This is an approach, it's an attitude. It's not stam, a coincidence. The rebuilding of Klal Yisrael in the whole world after the Holocaust, in the world of Torah, the world of mitzvahs, Avodas Hashem, yeshivas, Torah, and Eretz Yisrael and so forth, this was all the attitude of Lo Yashalecha Chakim Beirachtani. I'm going to access the Ma'oid. It doesn't give explanation to tragedy. Explanations for tragedies are usually futile, to understand how exactly what and how and what. But it gives perspective, not why, but how to deal with it.
The question that came up last week,
yeah.
The answer for how for survivors, this is the answer.
This might be.
I wouldn't call it an answer, to be honest with you. I would call it a response. Rabbi Akiva did not answer why every thorn had to perforate his body or so many other bodies. He didn't know why. What he did know was what. What? Tilei tilim shel halachos. I once heard from Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, the former chief rabbi of Israel, that he was once by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked him, what are Yidden saying? It was after the Yom Kippur War. What are Yidden saying in Eretz Yisrael? What's the mood in Eretz Yisrael? So as a good Jew, he tells the Rebbe, Yidden sagen, was wird sein? Was wird sein, yeah? Ma Jews are saying, what's going to be? So he said, the Rebbe told him, by Jews, we never say what's going to be. We say, what are we going to do about it? It's a very big difference. The Gemara says, V'hoya and Vayihi. Vayihi and V'hoya. V'hoya is Lashon Simcha. Vayihi is Lashon Sar. Vayihi is, it came to pass. It came to pass. Proactive. Not what's going to be. What's going to be, it's so bad. What are we going to do about it? What is it miyusadon? It's miyusadon that in every crisis, lay seeds of opportunity. Now, not many people see it this way. That's why he says you need tzaddikim for this. Why? Because many people, we naturally gravitate to the spirit, to Yiyush. But the Rishon said, Yiyush is shaloi midas. If it's Yiyush, there's no das. That's what we touch the Gemara. Yiyush is shaloi midas. Whether you hold like Abaya or you hold like Rava, no difference. But if it's Yiyush, there's no das. If there's das, there's no Yiyush. The Gemara in Yerushalmi says, why did they make Atachan Antonu in Atachan Eladam Das? Havdalah, Hamavdal Mekadosh L'chel, we say in Atachainen, right? You ever thought about it? You take it for granted. Tefillah has a serious structure. Why is Atachan Antonu and Atachainen? Why not in Hashivenu? Slach Lanu. So the Yerushalmi says in Brachas, Im Ein Das, Havdalah Minayin. Without Das, there's no Havdalah. That's a very profound statement. Im Ein Das, Havdalah Minayin. What's Havdalah? Havdalah is this Havdalah, to be able to separate. To be able to separate and to be able to trace back, not to see the outer shell of the Ra, to be able to separate the core from the shaft, what we call birur, to be able to take out the pnimiyas from the chitzonius, to be able to look at the zoyna and say, I'm not going to fall prey to the outer facade. I'm going to see the real pnimis, what is really going on. What is really going on here is I'm getting an opportunity to be able to become the person I'm supposed to become. Is the Zoyna good in my life or bad in my life? Horrible on one level. But if you see it from the king's perspective, it's just an opportunity for you to become the person you're supposed to become. Everybody has their own types of Zoynas, their own loisasura. Is it Ra or is it Toiv? Depends how you look at it. At the surface, it's all dinim. It's Ra, it's bad, it's hard. And there's a certain truth to that. Because if he falls prey to the Zayin, it's Takira. But it's his choice.
Somebody has Zaynus,
It's all bizarre.
I mean, it's interesting that if it's not Chachma, Pina can accomplish it. It's only Das.
Das,
The
yeah.
highest is intuitive.
Yeah. Das is intuitive, Das is iskashrus. Ha'adam yoda es chava. The person has to be able to connect to that. So this was their motto. It's not that I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to become blessed through you. Yeah. Yes.
So if something happens to you, you should look at not, I'm being beaten up, but I'm, whatever that occasion, it's like, find out he's Jewish or something like that.
I'm not being beaten up. They're trying to help me develop my martial arts skills.
Right.
So when the Malamed says to the kid, you're mamash achorm to develop, that's when actually the good is going to come out.
So now go back to your youth, and when somebody told you that you are a churban for the world, right? The world is a much worse place because of you. That's when real growth can happen. The challenge, of course, is that when we're children, we don't know this mimer. What I mean we don't know it is, we actually know it, but it's hard to experience it. Because we trust. And we don't know how to distinguish. Right? And we take it in like a wet sponge. So we live with this message that I'm this, I'm a shmata, whatever. I'm especially a child who was abused on one level or another level. And it destroys our dignity. As we grow older, however, it's not just that you heal and you say, you know what, this is not me. The messages that this person gave me don't really belong to me. I will own my true self. I will not allow somebody who made horrible mistakes, willingly or unwillingly, it's not so relevant, to define my life. It's much deeper than that. That's stage one. Stage two is to be able to say, it's only because of that I can develop a certain profound wisdom and sensitivity that I could have never experienced without that. It doesn't mean I wish it on anybody. It doesn't mean I wish it on myself. It doesn't mean chas v'shalom I wish it on my children. You want to protect your children. But what it does mean is that I really have the ability at every moment not only not to become a victim to the Ra, but on the contrary, to turn that into my greatest assistance, and to turn it into the greatest springboard for my growth. So not only do I not remain a bitter person, a broken person, a crushed person, by the time I'm done with you, it's not just you're going to have your nose caved in a little more. It's I'm going to come out blessed. That's the key. So that was the avoid of Nochem Ish Gamzu, to be able to revert things back to the Shayrish, to be able to puncture and burst the bubble, to create a hole, a sdak, a split, a neck of a hole in the bubble of darkness, and see the ultimate chiyus in everything that comes from Hashem, the Einoid Movade of it. Again, as I said, I'm going to say this again, it's important. This doesn't mean it's not painful. It doesn't mean it's not challenging. It doesn't mean it's not difficult. It does not mean any of this. As he says, when it comes down, it can often be ra, bad. What it does mean is that the Shoirish has a nekuda of taiva. So if all the tzaddikim operated on this level, why is Nochem Ish Gamzu chosen with this special name? He says, "Rak Nochem Ish Gamzu hayochel l'shanoi samshochem l'mayla lamata, shohyanida be'emes lamata shotayv bekashmis." Nochem Ish Gamzu had the quality, the skill, that he could actually change the program code, that it should come down to this world and appear as physically good. V'lachein nikra gamzu shel musik. We have a klal in Chazal when it says zeh or zu, it's maribet zboy v'oimezeh. When you say zeh, it means you could point with your finger. Ki hu zeh, this is it. Something is away, it's remote, I can't say zeh. I could say it is. Zeh keli v'anveyu means, the Gemara Chazal say, Ras ha'shifcha layamash le'ra Yecheskel. A maid saw what Yecheskel didn't see. Zeh keli. Maribet zboy v'oimezeh. Nochem Ish Gamzu was called Gamzu l'toiva. All the tzaddikim would say, this is toiv, but not zu l'toiva. Zu means that he could bring down the toiv, that with your fleishika oigen, with your physical eyes, you should be able to see, the toiva is be'enei basar, it's begashmius toiv. It's called toiv hanira v'hanigla. That was the chiddush of Nochem Ish Gamzu. And this is a gewaldike maila, which answers the big question that has been asked for. Why do tzaddikim daven for anything? Rufeinu Hashem b'nei rafei. The guy is sick. Great. Toiv ma'od. You're losing your house. Wonderful. Toiv ma'od. If you have a house, it's toiv. If you lost it, it's toiv ma'od.
Someone else can be a chok.
But even for themselves, they daven. So you're right. For somebody else, I understand. Right? Zaya Ibe Chacham and everybody else's tzaras. It's wonderful. Wonderful. You lost your job, that's wonderful. Let's make a Suda Seidah. You lose your job, make a Suda Seidah. Yeah? The pshat, of course, is this. The very fact that Toiv Ma'od is not manifested in the physical world as revealed good, that itself is a product of the lack of balance in existence. The fact that ultimate truth, when it comes down to this world, it's translated as pain, that itself is a painful reality. And ultimately that remains a mystery. Because Hashem is a Kel Yachal. He's capable of everything. He's not defined by anything. So all the explanations I gave in the shiur, that the deeper the shiur of the teacher, the more overwhelming, right? The more you look at sunlight, the more blinding. The deeper the truth, the more challenging. Roiv toiva einem yichaylam l'kabel. The more the truth is nice and comfortable, it's because it's diluted. When you understand everything from the shiur of this great Rav, it's because he was metzamtzem himself. He restricted his wisdom. If he would have given you the truth, you would have been like, whoa, whoa. That principle is a true principle in life. We see it all the time. But and it's true and God made that principle. What we're davening for is, we want the cake, and we want to eat it too. Why does it have to be that ma'od doesn't feel toiv? Let it be ma'od and let it feel like toiv. You say, well, you can't. You can't expand your house if you don't demolish the walls. Demolishing the walls is painful. You're right, I get that. You want real wisdom, you have to expand your mind. It's going to hurt. You have to stretch. Right? In our Pilates example, you got to stretch the spine. It's going to hurt. It's tight. Tight. You want to remain tight, you can remain tight. The question the Jew is davening is, I want the ma'od, but I want toiv hanira v'hanigla. It should come out in a revealed way. Why does it ultimately have to be either or? Is it true? It's true. But Nachamish Gamzu, this was his Maila. He said, Gamzu l'toiv. The story in the Gemara brings that out. He was going to give the Roman king, the Roman emperor, a gift. Right? And what happened in the hotel? A thief stole the jewelry and replaced it with sand. Nachamish Gamzu l'toiv. At this point, there was sand. He comes to the king, and the advisor says, "Oh, don't punish him for bringing you such a cheap gift. This may be the sand that his grandfather Avraham Avinu used in his war in Parshas Lech Lecha." And indeed, the sand turned out to be something extraordinarily helpful for the king in winning his war. What did Nachamish Gamzu manage to do? To be Megala, the toiv, in the source. Somebody steals your jewelry, it's not toiv, it's dinim. It's ra. It's a bad thing. He said, Gamzu l'toiva. He brought it out into the world of zu. In other words, he can change the program code. He can make a hishtanus. Misha omar l'shemen v'yadlik. Yoyma l'chaymetz v'yadlik. We don't have access to the DNA of existence. We don't have access to the back end. But the programmer goes to the back end, he switches a code, and boom, it's a whole different computer. It's a different display. That it was Gamzu l'toiv. That's why it's called zu. It's called zu. After the parentheses, second line from the top, Samach Beis column 2. Aval kol tzadikim, all the other tzadikim, afilu shaya machshavoisam al zeh haderech. Even if their machshava was on this path, this was their perspective, it was their paradigm. Haya nisher l'mayla kach k'may haya shahaya betchila b'li musag ha'toivahu. They would live that way. They would look at it that way. But ultimately, often, the toiv remained above. It did not become musag. It did not become comprehensible, fathomable, contained in the human structure to be able to say, I feel the toiv. I experience the toiv. And essentially, this is the concept of chukas. It's the connection with the beginning of chukas. Zois chukas ha-Torah, para aduma. What's the concept of para aduma? That even death does not destroy somebody's soul. Tumas meis, impurity from contact with a corpse, is not just I'm tamei, I can't eat truma, I can't eat a carbon, I can't walk into the Beis HaMikdash. That's true. Tumas meis means contact with death turns people into a state of impurity. They lose their passion for life. The element of death, it destroys something in the human soul. That's tumas meis. And what does Parshas Para Aduma say? That there could be a tara, there can be a cleansing. But the Chazal say this is the quintessential chukah. Even Shlomo HaMelech, who understood everything, couldn't understand this. Why is Para Aduma the great chukah more than everything else? And the answer is because not everybody is Nachamish Gamzu. The fact that there can be rebirth after death, ashes and water are basically two extremes. Ashes is the end, and water is the beginning. A fetus develops in water, the amniotic sac of the mother. Ashes represents the aftermath of something being burnt and destroyed. Afer and Mayim, you mix ashes and water together, is the mix of the end with the beginning. Anoichi Afar va'Afer, Avraham Avinu says. I'm earth and ashes. Earth is the beginning of everything. Ashes is the end. Earth is before growth. Earth is the potential to grow. Afer is the end. Anoichi Afar va'Afer. Mayim is the beginning of the child's creation. Just like Afar is the beginning of Tzemeach, of trees and produce. That mixture is possible, but it remains a chayk. What do we mean it's a chayk? A person can't always wrap their brain around it and say, oh, so now I understand why it happened and why it has to happen. That doesn't work. Nachamish Gamzu can channel it that it should become Toiv HaNidav HaNigla. For many, the tzaddikim, they understood it, not they understood. They lived that way. Their machshava was that way, but it remains a chayk. According to this, we now come back to the opening question of the Maimer. You remember the opening question of the Maimer? Moedidike question. Moshe Rabbeinu is told to sculpture a snake. Put it on a pole, everybody should look, and they'll get healed if they were bitten. Asks the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, Perek Gimel, a snake makes people live. Snake makes people die. A copper snake? Come on. We believe in these things. So the Mishnah says, no, it's not the snake. It's looking up to Hashem. It's not the snake. Frag the Balatanya, so what do we have to make a snake for? Make a snake. Don't make a snake. Tell the Jews, Chas v'sholom, a snake bites. Look up to God, pray to Him, connect to Him, and you'll be healed. You're doing that anyway. So I need a pole with a snake. Look up where you have to get his head to stretch. That's the point. I mean, well, what's the point? Not only that, as we said, Chizkiah destroyed the copper snake. Why? Because people turned it into a little god, a little deity, which only makes the question stronger. Now you understand the answer. The whole Maimer came to explain this. What's going to be the Nakuda? The Chiddush here, you see, this is, you can learn the Mishnah only b'chitzonius, without the pnimius. That's why it's called pnimius HaTorah. The Mishnah is saying, when you learn the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, it's not the snake, it's God. So why do you look up at the snake? He's looking up Klape Mile. It happens to be the snake was on top. According to this, the question is very strong, so get rid of the snake. Just put a pole. You don't have to put a pole. Tell people to look up. And B'chal, looking up doesn't only mean physically. It means looking up to Hashem. It's everywhere. Hashem is everywhere. Now we'll understand the Vart. What the Rebbeinu Shalom was telling Moshe Rabbeinu is, what's Pshat looking up? Looking up doesn't only mean look up to the heavens. Look up to God. Look up to Shamayim. What does it mean looking up? It means
Find the up in your snakes.
Atazai. It's taking the snake and elevating it back to its source. Look at the snake, but look at the snake the way it's up there, not the way it's down here. That's the source of healing. To put it in different words, what Hashem was telling Moshe is, you're looking to heal from the snake, you can't run from the snake. The healing will come from the snake itself. You know why? Because there's no snake in life. There's no snakes in life. The healing will come from the snake. What do you mean the healing will come from the snake? The problem came from the snake. The healing will come from the snake. Because the truth is that the snake itself is the source of healing. When? You can look up at the shayrish. V'zeu inyan nechasha nechoshes. Shayitzarich la simay ala neis. He had to place it on the pole. Shayitzarich la lahagbas hanachash lamayla. He needed the pole to lift up the snake above. If he wouldn't have a pole, it would be on the ground. Umistaklim klape mayla. When the Mishnah says mistaklim klape mayla, kiloymar, doesn't mean look up to heaven and pray to Hashem. It's much deeper than that. Kiloymar, shaloy yachshav shahanachash nifrit. Don't think that the snakes in life are really detached from the divine. If you believe that, then you turn it into a ra, and that's what it remains. You give the snake its power to be a snake. Yeah. 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 You say America is nicht anders, and the slang is nicht anders. When he'll look at the snake, the way it's uplifted, in other words, he'll take the same nachash and trace it back to its shayrish l'mayla, ask himself the question, what is this snake when it's traced back to its source, in its divine energy? Where the nachash is not separated from Hashem, really getting a lot of mileage out of this mashal. Huh? And the chiyus from there, the life energy from there is al derech mashal. You'll ask a question. What do you mean it's a snake? The snake bites. What are you telling me? A mysis? It's not nifrit. It's a nachash. What is it? Cotton candy? It's not cotton candy. That's why he goes back to the mashal. The mashal of the ben hazoyna, that what? That she's not really separated from the king. Her whole energy is coming from the king. Even her message is coming from the king. Im kain ein ra yored malmayla. He'll figure out and he'll see no ra comes from above. It's not ra. Even the nachash is not ra. But only one condition. You got to look up. You have to look up. If you look down, Ooh, it's a dangerous snake. It's a very dangerous snake. Stay away. You're turning it into Ra. It stays Ra. Look up. Klape Maila means to be able to see the Nachash from Hashem's perspective. Klape Maila means to be able to look at the whole world and see it Lamaila. It's not just you run away from the snake to go to heaven. It's much deeper than that. The snake itself becomes heaven. That source itself, which was venomous, becomes heaven. Every person has snakes in life. Those are the things that bite. It's elements of toxicity that give us pain. They give us anxiety. They challenge us. Have you ever had a person who backstabbed you? Had you ever had a snake that bit you? Some venom, some poison that comes into your life or came into your life. What do you do with it? You could just pray. Get rid of the nachash. Hashem is telling Moshe, no. What you believed was the source of your poison could really become the source of your blessings. But one condition. The condition is Simoy Salnes. Don't treat the nachash as a nifrid me'ita yizbarach. Don't look at the nachash the way it's below. Take the nachash, lift it up, bring it back to its shayrish, and you will discover that at the core of this crisis lay a tremendous, unprecedented opportunity for healing, for rejuvenation.
So we pray that we should see in the Ra,
This is the perspective.
recognize
By recognizing it, and therefore you allow it. You allow it to become that way. You allow you reveal its secret. You create, you puncture the bubble, the facade.
We say Rifa'inu, but we don't really just want to see the hidden toad within the Rifa'inu. Like we say, we want to have the cake. I mean,
Right. You want that the ma'oid should come down in toiv hanire v'hanigla.
Why is this the time to teach us this lesson? What does it have to do with us complaining about man? What shaykhs now is?
Parshas Chukas in many ways is the most tragic parsha of Torah. You know why? Within a short period of time, they lose Miriam, they lose Aaron, and they know they're about to lose Moshe. A family. The mother is taken away, the father is taken away, and Moshe is taken away. Miriam, Aaron, and Moshe, the Gemara says, were the three shepherds. Shloisha Saram. They were with them for 40 years, besides being with them in Egypt. 40 years they didn't move without Miriam, without Moshe, without Aaron. In one period, short period, Miriam passes away, Yud Nisan. A few months later, Ish Chodesh Av, Moshe passes away, Aaron passes away, and they know Moshe is leaving. Do you understand the crisis that overtook the Jewish people? A short period of time, they're left alone. And basically, they're starting. They're completely alone, and they have to start. So you have Yeshua, but you had Miriam, you had Aaron, you had Moshe, and you had them for 4 decades, and they were siblings, and they were all prophets. They were all Nevi'im. This was a unique generation. So perhaps, the parsha begins with Zois Chukas HaTorah. We don't always understand how history evolves. Why do some generations have a schus to have a Moshe Rabbeinu, and others don't? Why do some people have a schus to have a Rebbe, a mentor, that only sees their goodness and it helps them touch infinity, and other people, the only people that mentored them were people who tried to destroy them? Zois Chukas HaTorah. There's a chayk, paradum is a chayk. How it all works. Right? And the whole parsha, you have Mrs. Miriam, Mrs. Aaron, and Mei Meriva, the biggest crisis where Moshe also is going to lose his life. Perhaps in that, I'm just suggesting, perhaps in that context, this message became extremely important. That what seems like the darkest moments, the nachash in life, really, if you trace it back to the source, it's not only you will find healing, you will see in the crisis the seeds for opportunity. You will transform your very snake into a source of healing. Nechasha nechayshas. That's the chiddush. A whole different vart. It's a whole different idea. There was a philosopher, his name was an eccentric person, Wittgenstein, right? So he once said, he was in Germany in the 1930s. He was a shtickle Jew. He had Jewish blood. The Germans declared the family Jewish, and then they paid off the Germans a lot of money to make them Aryan. So they had a gear. They became Aryans. A lot of money. I think two of his brothers committed. So he was a complicated person, Wittgenstein. He once said, they asked him, what's the role of a philosopher? So he said, the role of a philosopher is to show the mosquito the way out of the bottle. You ever saw a big jar and a bug, those black bugs, fleas, flies, mosquitoes get stuck in the jar, right? And what happens? They fly thousands of times back and forth. Yeah, as kids, especially if you have a little mean bone in you, you could watch it, right? Some people watch it for a long time and they enjoy it a little bit. This is before the iPhones. So the bug, a flit ahead, boom, 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 bumps. And finally, from exhaustion, he collapses after hours and stays. Wittgenstein, there's only one problem. The fly never looks up. If he would have looked up, he would have been free. He looks right, he looks left, he looks down. That's his paradigm. So he remains stuck. He says, my job is to teach the fly to look up. And I'm not sure Wittgenstein did that. But lahavdil, that's what he's saying. In life, some people just look down. They right away look down. It's bad, it's going to get worse. That's one mahalach. It's a Jewish mahalach. They say the Jewish telegram, right? The Jewish telegram, start worrying, details to follow. That's the ikar. We'll soon figure out why. Some people already are more. They're up, they're more elevated. They look right, they look left. Yominus multifreutzi. This perspective, that perspective. We fail to look up. That's the key. Don't look down, don't look right, don't look left. You look up. Mistaklim klape maila. Look at this, but see it the way it's from a higher perspective. Look at it from the divine perspective. See the chiyus elaki, the divine energy that is ultimately in its source fueling it. And then you will live. From this itself you will live. Because the shayrish of it is toiv. In fact, this will make you even stronger and healthier. Because the shayrish is really toiv ma'id. And he finishes, he says, what do you want to say? You want to say something?
Just to add to what you were just saying, but I heard the Rav in a big drush was talking about Chukas being basically the Parsha of death. It was most of one Nekuda. And the Chukas is where the 39 years was swallowed up. We started with year, the second year when the Likkutei Torah, and then Vatisa Kolei, then all of a sudden we're in year 39. So he used to say, what did the Jews do for those 39 years? He says, they buried dead people. Every morning they would woke up, and there were more Mesei Midbar, there were more. The whole Parshas Chukas subsumes within it the tragedy of death, because that's what the 39 years were all about. Only Tisha B'Av they bury.
This answers the last question. Why was it copper? Rashi asks, Hashem never told him to make a copper snake. He said, make a snake. He made it on his own copper. Why did he make it? So Rashi says, Loshen Neufel al Loshen. Moshe thought, Nachash sounds good, no? Nachash. So you need a hezbet here. The pshat is shemishtana lekama gvanin ayidei ayin. The type of copper that it changes to different colors, can be seen from different colors, different perspectives, and that's the whole nekuda. Nechasha nechayshes. What Moshe was saying is, nothing is fixed in a color. Don't take the color seriously. Even a nachash is not a nachash. If you bring him back, it suddenly becomes a source of healing, a source of blessing. Nechasha nechayshes. Mishtana lekama gvanin. But the only thing is, ayidei ayin. You need the state of ayin. As long as it's in a state of yesh, I'm rigid, I'm fixed. This is who I am, this is who I'm not. Don't bother me. What do people like saying sometimes? This is who I am. You like it, good. You don't, leave. This is who I am. They limit themselves to themselves, not only other people. They say it out of fear. When they feel that somebody might touch them too deep. This is who I am. I'm 98 years old. I'm not going to change at this moment in my life. I'm 44 years old. I'm 51 years old. Whatever the age is, what's the average age here? 18 years old? 13 years old? I'm 13 years old. I'm not going to change. Right? You're capable of change still? so that's the Nechoshis. Nechoshis is when you go to a state of ayin. What's a state of ayin? A state of ayin is a state of infinite possibilities. Why is it a state of infinite possibilities? Because you bring it back to the Shayrish and Alakus, so therefore it's Toiv. So here in the Nechoshis, Moshe Rabbeinu is explaining the whole idea what the Nachash is. That's why Dafka makes it Nechoshis, not another metal. Because Mishtana Lekama Gvaran Aydei Ayin, and the Balatanya concludes the Maimer with 3 words: Vahamevin Yavin. And whoever understands, understands.
It's talking about the Chukas.
Huh?
Talking about
No, there's a period after Ayin.
that's the whole mind.
Vahamevin Yavin. Whoever understands, understands.
Maybe we can make a sikkum on the whole mind, elevator pitch.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.